Hello everyone, my name is Kirti Rana. I'm a chess lover from India. I have a FIDE rating of 2027 in the classical format, and I'm a regular player in the leeches with rating above 2400. And today I would like to analyze one of the classical game played by Garry Kasparov and Nigel in their World Championship match. So this was held in the year 1993, and this game is a good example of tactics, strategies, and middle game to end game conversion. So let's go into the game and analyze this. So this one is white is played by Nigel and black is played by Garry Kasparov. So here short plays e4 and Kasparov responds with his customary move c5. So this is going to be the Sicilian defense. The knight f3, d6 and d4. So here short is going for open Sicilian, so which is going to be quite sharp. So pawn takes pawn, knight takes, knight f6, knight c3, and here Kasparov chooses knight off variation of Sicilian by playing a6. So this is one of the most popular variation within the Sicilian defense. So here there are several possibilities for white. White can play bishop e2, which is classical variation, or bishop c4, which is Fischer variation, or he can play bishop e3, which is English attack. But instead of all these things, short chooses bishop g5, which is the main line of the Sicilian knight off. And in fact, this one is the sharpest move in this position, sharpest variation that he is playing. And this actually, it's like a litmus test for black. If black withstands, if he doesn't get checkmated, and if he withstands the white's attack initially for some moves, then he will become successful in the end game. So let's see how the game proceeds. Kasparov responds with e6 and short plays f4, queen to b6. So this move, queen b6, is again a very sharp move that is being chosen by Kasparov. So this is called as poisoned pawn variation. So why this is called as poisoned pawn variation? Because queen here goes on adventure and goes and captures this pawn on b2. But black have to make several compromises here, because his king side is, to a certain extent, it is going to be shattered. But black chooses a very active and counter-attacking move, queen b6. So white plays queen d2 and he sacrifices the pawn on b2. So black accepts that and knight b3. And here black plays queen a3. This move is important here so that the queen will not get trapped. Let's say, for example, if you play something like bishop e7, then there is a good chance that queen could get trapped after white plays a4. a4 followed by rook a2. And you can see the queen is in a massive trouble in that case. So queen comes back to a3, bishop into f6, g into f6. Here the point is, white has shattered black's pawn structure on the king side. So that is some kind of achievement for white. But in return, black is having double bishop advantage. So both players are playing in a very aggressive way. Neither of them are backing down. So let's see. And here white plays bishop e2. So what is the point of bishop e2? Here this bishop, this is a very quiet and subtle looking move, but here the intention of this is, this wants to come to h5 and straight away hit the black's king in this line, along this diagonal. So black plays knight c6, castles, bishop d7. So he's going ahead with his development. And here white plays king h1, and the intention of this is to play bishop h5 without any difficulties. Because in earlier case, if he straight away plays this, in long run there is a possibility that black could play queen c5 check and grab this bishop on h5. So this is a good prophylactic move. And here black have to secure this h5 square, otherwise the bishop is going to come there. So black plays h5 and prevents the bishop. Okay, the rook is supporting the pawn. Here white plays knight d1, and this is a novelty here. This is the first novelty that is being played. So on the move 14th, this is the new move. In earlier games, Spassky had played knight b1 against Bobby Fischer, and Michael Toll has played queen e3 in some of the previous games. But anyway, Short comes up with a new novelty, that is knight d1. So what is the point of this? So this is a very creative move in this position, because here, first of all, this knight, it is a big liability on the c3, because at some point this rook comes to c8 and starts hitting upon this knight on c3, which is a very classical idea in the Sicilian defense. So white in this position plays knight d1, and here the intention of the white is he wants to play knight e3 followed by knight c4, and from here it is going to hit the queen, pawn and this weak square on b6. So knight d1, of course here Kasparov responds with rook c8, knight e3, then queen b4. So here Kasparov is offering exchange of queens, because if queens are exchanged, then white's attack is going to be diffused, and already black is pawn up with double bishop advantage. So obviously the endgame is going to be very bad for white. So definitely queen into queen is not a choice for the white. So here in this position, Short plays c3, and he is willingly giving up the second pawn on e4. But why did he do so? See, instead of this, he could have played queen to d3. But here there is a beautiful tactic in this position, which converts this position into a much more comfortable endgame position for black. So here black can play knight e5, hitting the queen. Here white can take it, but here comes the idea, rook c3. So rook is hitting the queen and knight. So if the queen steps back to d2, here black takes rook into d3. So here is the situation. If pawn takes rook, then queen into queen is there. So if queen takes queen, then rook into queen is there. So this is obviously going into the endgame, which is going to be much more favorable for black. So that's the reason why Short refused this idea, and instead he played c3. And here there is a free pawn for black on e4, so Kasparov took this. And here white plays bishop d3 and queen goes to a4 and knight c4. So here black have to play very carefully, because after knight c4, what is the threat here? This knight want to come to b6 and fork the queen and rook, and also knight is eyeing upon this pawn on d6. So black have to play very cautiously. So rook c7, so get out of the fork. Then white plays knight b6, so he occupies this square, and queen has got only one square, a3, queen a3. And now white plays rook a1, which is actually very, very aggressive move. Now the rook is straight away coming on the file as that of black king. So this creates a lot of tactical opportunities. Possibly he can play knight d5, hit this rook and hit this pawn. That is one possible threat. And also this rook e1 is preventing black from playing this pawn to d5, because the knight can easily take it. So this is a critical position. Here the most common and obvious move that comes to our mind is bishop to e7. But here if we play bishop e7, which is a very natural looking move, because we are developing our pieces on one hand and keeping the rook away. But here this is going to lead into serious difficulties for black, Here white can play knight c4 and queen a4 and rook e4. Now this is a very serious problem for black, because white is going to threaten knight into d6 discovered check, and he's going to win the queen. So even if black plays king f8 in this position, his position is going to be shattered after knight into d6. So black have to give up some material here. Let's say knight b4. The idea is, if white takes c into b4, black is going to play d5 and fork these two. So in this position, white has an incredible intermediate move, that is knight b2. So the knight hits the queen here on a4, and this is how the knight is hitting. And in the next move, once the queen moves, white can take rook into b4, and this is going to be extremely pleasant position for white. So in this position, the most natural looking move, bishop e7, is going to be a mistake. So here Kasparov comes with a wonderful defensive move, that is knight e7. So what is the point of this? On one hand, the knight is covering the king, so king is going to be more safer in this case. And secondly, if white plays knight c4 in this position, we can go for rook sack. Okay, we can go for exchange sacrifice in this position. So that is the idea. So anyway, white plays knight c4, and here the only possible move for black is king to c4. Because you may be wondering, if queen a4 is played, then knight into d6 check, and once the king moves aside, knight into f7 check, and that's going to be a nasty fork. Black is going to lose the game instantaneously. So here in this position, black plays rook into c4, sack this exchange, bishop c4, and here black plays h4. Now the point here is, the black is trying to create counterplay on the king side. We have seen earlier, initially, white was trying to destroy the pawn structure of the black on the king side and trying to create attack. But here what is happening is, you see, this is acting like a very effective pawn shield. Despite the black king is remaining in the center of the board, he is safe for the moment, because the king is being covered by 4 pawns, 2 minor pieces, and queen is also operating from a long distance. So this is acting like an effective shield. Now h4, the idea of this is to push this pawn forward to h3. So white plays bishop d3. This is rather a passive move. In fact, white is worried about this idea of knight f5, followed by, in some situations, this knight g3 could come at an appropriate moment. So he plays bishop d3, which is actually slowing down white's game. So anyway, here black plays f5. So this is a good move that takes control over some space in the middle of the board. So now black controls these 2 vital squares, so that he is trying to conquer this long diagonal using his bishop. So f5 is a good move, and bishop goes to e2. So bishop g7. So finally this bishop comes into the game. Here you don't have to worry about queen into d6. We have black queen is defending from the a3. So c4, then h3, then g3, then d5. So d5 is a good move here. So in this position, after d5, black is trying to activate his knight. So if c takes d5, then knight takes d5, then knight is going to be nicely centralized. So white plays a mistake here, that is a very natural looking move, bishop f3. It seems like here in this position it should be better if white plays c takes d5, knight takes d5, followed by bishop f3, so that there will be no complexities for white in this long diagonal. As long as the bishop is there, the position seems to be safer. But here it seems like Short made a small miscalculation and he played bishop f3. Let's see where he has gone wrong. So here black plays d into c4, so accepts the pawn. So black is well ahead in terms of pawns. Already black is having 3 extra pawns. So here white plays rook e3. Here there are certain tactics that we should understand. Probably in this position, white must have thought about playing rook to d1. So what happens if he plays rook d1? So this is going to keep an instantaneous threat with the queen into d7. Check is coming here. So that's going to be a serious threat. So if black plays knight d5, see here it is not possible to play bishop to c6 because queen d8, and that is checkmate instantly. So knight d5, bishop d5, e d5. The point of black's knight d5 is if queen takes bishop c6 is that, pinning the king and queen. But here incredibly white can think about taking this one, queen into d5. And after bishop c6, rook f e1 check. Okay, and here if black plays a mistake, he's going to get checkmated immediately. If king to f8, then queen d8, queen into c6, then pawn takes, then rook d8 check, and this is mate. So probably I think this was the initial calculation that Short was thinking about. But in this position, after queen takes d5, bishop c6, rook e1, the only move for black in this position is to play queen e7 and defend this. So after queen e7, the point is if rook takes, king takes, and you see the white's queen is going to be captured in the next movement. So here black is having 2 extra pawns, despite the black structure is little bit there are several double pawns in this position. But despite that, since black is having bishop and 2 active pawns, two pawn advantages there, it's going to be a difficult endgame for white. So probably this is the reason why white did not play this rook d1 in this position. We were analyzing this rook d1 earlier. So after d takes c4, white plays a piece sack with rook e3. So what is the intention behind rook e3? See, for example, if black takes c into b3 in this position, then white is going to get a lot of counterplay. If c into b3, rook takes b3, queen a4, rook b7. And now you see the rook has reached the 7th rank and hitting this bishop along with the queen, and rook b8 is the immediate threat. This looks very, very scary because white is suddenly getting a lot of counterplay. So this is not an option for black. So that's why in this position Kasparov did not take this knight on b3, and instead he pushed the pawn to c3. So here again this is a challenge for white. See, if he continues with this pawn is like a thorn in the flesh. So white cannot live with this pawn. So he takes rook into c3, bishop c3, queen c3. So, and this is move number 30, and here in this position white is threatening queen into h8. But incredibly on move number 30, black goes for castles. So generally we go for castling in the early stages of the opening. But in certain variations, like in Sicilian Nidor, sometimes you can play with the king in the center, or late castling, let's say as in this game on move 30. This is the common thing. So here white plays rook g1. So what is the point of this? So he wants to play g4 and create this open file and attack the black king here. So black plays rook c8, counter attacks the white queen on c3. It threatens the queen on c3, and queen comes to f6. Now this position looks a little bit scary because queen is very close to black's king. Rook is very soon, it is going to get an open file. But here black can hold on to this position because of his knight. Now, once this knight reaches this g6 square, this is going to be acting like a very strong defender. Remember, whenever knight is there around the king, and if it is well protected by the pawns, this is going to be acting as an excellent defender. So black need not worry too much about the threats in this position. So anyway, bishop c6 is played. So black is trying to mount the bishop along this diagonal. So bishop takes, rook takes, g4, and here, as I told you earlier, there is no necessity to panic. Black can easily take f into g4 followed by knight g6, and the position is going to be safe. But here anyway, Kasparov went with the knight g6, which is also fine. Pawn takes pawn, and queen into f5. So after queen into f5, this is still a complex position, but since the knight is there on g6 and it is protected by the rook as well as by the pawn, it is still safe for black. So he goes on for pawn hunt, queen into a2, and queen into a2, and white plays queen into h3. So if you count the material, black is one pawn up at the moment. And here in this position, there is a threat, serious threat that should be considered. f5 is coming. So there is a rook on the file, so knight cannot move. So if white manages to play f5, then he's back into the game. So here black have to defend this position very appropriately. So queen c2. So queen, of course, it is not directly controlling the f5, but let's see what is the plan behind the queen c2. White plays f5, and here rook c3. So this is a counter attack. Rook is hitting the queen and the knight on b3 and forcing the queen to move. And here in this position, I think this is already a very difficult position for white. But in this position, Short makes his final mistake and he plays a very natural looking move, queen g4. But he should have played knight d4 as per the analysis. In this case, black would have taken, black would have played queen e4 check and queen g2, queen into queen, king into queen, knight e5. Still, this is a favorable endgame for black since black is one pawn up, but still white can fight, because he is also having a passed pawn on this side and he can still fight. But here in this position, after rook c3 and queen g4 was played, and here comes a good example of middle game to end game conversion. So white plays queen g4 and he mounts all his pieces on this open file, and here black takes rook into b3, pawn into knight, and here in this position, if black manages to exchange the queens in a forceful way, then this is going to be a completely favorable endgame. Otherwise, it is still going to be tricky, because the white pawn has reached g6, and even if you take something like f into e6, There are always chance for perpetual checks, queen e6 followed by queen e8, something like that. It's very, very complex. So here in this position, Kasparov plays an excellent move, queen c6 check. So he plays an intermediary check before he captures the pawn, and he wants to take this into a favorable endgame. He's trying to force the exchange of queens. So in this position, Short resigned. But why did he resign? See, he cannot play rook g2 in this position, because in that case, if black plays rook b1, this is straight away checkmate. Instead, if he plays queen g2, then black is happy to exchange the queens. So let's say rook into g2, then rook b1 check, rook g1 takes, and takes. And now with two connected passed pawns on this side, this is going to be completely winning endgame. So if king takes g2, then black can still take this, and with two connected passed pawns on this side, this is a completely winning rook and pawn endgame. So that's it. So here this was the final move, and after queen c6 check, Short resigned in this position. So yeah, so that's it. So this game is a good example of different types of tactics, strategies, defensive tactics, defensive ideas, and several good novelties and new thoughts. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe.